Hey everybody, Robert Sell here from my YouTube channel. I'm a frequent traveler, and you probably are too if you're watching this. So I wanted to do another video real quick with an update of what's going on, because it seems like every time I turn around, there's more stuff going on. And today is no exception to that. So before I get into the news and what's going on and what's going to impact you as a traveler, first of all, I just want to mention these things here. And these are alcohol swabs. Actually says tampon on here, but these are not tampons. These, I don't know why it says that. Maybe there's another meaning for that I'm not aware of. But these are little napkin-like things that are coated in alcohol. And the idea is you unwrap these and then you wipe them on your hands like that. And that's going to help disinfect your hands and make everything good. And yeah, I think that's a great idea. I think these are fantastic for you to use for travelers. I mean, look how thin that is, right? Like that, this is like a razor thinness, right? So I will definitely take some of these with me. And how tiny it is. I mean, for travelers, that's also really good, right? But it's ridiculously small. So it's like one of these little salt and pepper containers at the restaurant that you get in your to-go package. You know, you rip this open and then you pull out this little tiny thing and it's like done, right? Well, I can't do very much with this. So I think that if you can get bigger ones like this size is pretty good. That's not bad. You know, I can do something with this, right? I can do both hands before I throw it away. With these things, like I take a handful of them and I'm ripping them open. And if the container is contaminated, well, maybe I'm recontaminated myself. I don't know. But like, these are not fun at all. These are a headache, and I don't like them. Okay, I mean, they're good. So if all I have are these, I'm going to use them, but they're too small. Right? Just make them bigger. Make them bigger. What I will say is that I like the packages that you can get that have, say, 10 or 20 wipes in them. So you open it up and then you pull them out and then you use them. And for me right now, that's working out pretty well because I go through them pretty quick. So I'm going through the airport, I touch something, and then I'm like, oh, geez, it's Corona time, and I pull out my little sandy wipe and I get it all going, and then I throw that away and I seal it back up. And because I'm going through them pretty quickly, everything's good. But what I find is before I would buy them, and then every week I would use one because I would go through the airport and I'd realize, oh, my hands are yucky, and I don't want to go to the bathroom to clean them. So I'll just like use that and sanitize my hands. And so using them every week and then opening and closing the package, some oxygen would get in there and it would dry them out. And so I find they would kind of go bad. They would, some of the moisture would be gone. So for long term, like if it's in my pack for 6 months, obviously after the first month or so, it's not as good. So I would say, now is great. So now I'm buying the little wet ones or whatever they're called. Don't worry about the brand. You can buy them at any sort of store, and pretty readily available still, I think. Although the price has probably gone up a little bit on those, but better than these. Like these are good because they're individually packed, but just very unpleasurable to use. So whoever designed these, could you make them a little bigger, please? That would be great. Anyway, so that's that. That's the product review. So just a little bit on that. And now let's get into some news, because this is crazy stuff. Like this is a movie, right? And I think there was a news article on some of the movies that have come out lately, or not lately, over the last few years, that are mirroring what we're seeing now. I think Pandemic was one of them. There were some other ones out there, but it's and I think some of them are of course very dramatic, and you have like they turn into zombies or something. I don't know. I haven't watched them, but I think there's some scary similarities there. Why am I talking about that? I don't know. Anyway, back up. Okay, to the news. Oh, that's why, because the news is crazy. That's why it is. Okay. So there's been a lot of people say, hey, Rob, like, what are you talking about? This is no big deal. This is just the flu and stuff like that. This is like 2% fatality. That's pretty typical of the flu. It's just the older people that have some health issues and things like that. Yeah, no, that's not what this is. I think when we saw the news coming out of China, which was not correct, and it's pretty obvious now, we're getting, even China has said, yeah, that those numbers are not exactly right. And they're not exactly to blame. So I'm being very careful there. I think that, yes, they could have done better. I think any country that had this issue would probably have a very hard time reporting accurate numbers. So no blame, right? I'm not mad at anybody. I'm just saying that those numbers are probably low. And I think that, China has a government where they're not exactly transparent, and they want to make sure that everybody there is very, keen on their style of government. And most governments are kind of that way, where they want to, make sure everybody's feeling good. And I think during these sort of outbreaks at a global level, even, there's a lot of people that are trying to give a good message. And, there's World Health Organizations actually that are, saying, wash your hands and everything will be fine. Which I don't know if that's the greatest news. And they're also saying, oh yeah, go ahead and travel. It's totally fine. And I don't think that's really true either. I think that people need to be careful. And the reason why I've heard fatalities, it's a great map. I have it on my screen over there. I look at it every morning and I see the numbers go up, and it's a great map to look at. Are the numbers right? No, but it gives us a bit of a baseline and a graphs it very nicely. So we can see the increase in infections and fatalities, and we can start to make some sort of conclusions. Now, if we look at that, and I'm not saying that that map in and of itself is why I think the advice that we've received is not that great. I think that if we look at one part of it, which has just recently come up, is the cruise ship information. This is critical, right? And it's critical to me because I believe that those people that are contained on the cruise ship, that's very public information. Those people have friends and family all around the world. And so the reporting is pretty accurate, I would believe, is more accurate than what we're probably getting out of China. And so that's good news, right? I wouldn't want to be anybody on that cruise ship. I think it's ridiculous to keep them locked on that cruise ship in quarantine. I think there's better places to have them. I think cruise ships are notorious for, the air circulation not being, what's the right word? Individualized. I think you're sharing a lot of people's air. So I think everybody on that ship will eventually get sick. And, how serious? Hopefully not that serious. That's my hope. Hopefully not that serious. But if I was on that ship, I'd be taking some vitamin C or whatever else I could find to try to, get through that. So, because I think everybody's going to get sick eventually, and then they're just going to take them off, and I don't know what they're going to do with them. But okay, tangent. Let me get back to why I think that's important. So the Diamond Princess, AKA the plague ship, which is commonly referred to now, 3,700 passengers. So quite a few, right? So that's quite a few people, little tiny town of people at sea. And positive for virus infections is 454 as of today-ish, maybe tomorrow, maybe yesterday rather. And that works out to be about 12%. So disclaimer, I am not good at math. So if these numbers don't make sense, let me know, put it in the comments, and I will add a correction. No problem. I'm taking this from some of the reports that I've seen online as well. So if there's anybody doesn't agree with this, I'm totally good to source it, and we can have a discussion on that. So I want to be totally transparent. I'm not trying to convince anybody. This is just what I see. I think we need to make our travel arrangements based on this. Okay, so that little disclaimer. So there we go. Tested so far on that ship is 1,723, which equals 26% of the population, right? So not everybody has been tested. So there's a bunch of people out there that have not been tested yet. So we think that there could be more people infected that we just don't know about. Just recently, just over the last 24 hours, 99 people were infected. So 99 more people were infected to make that total number of 454, right? So it's kind of gaining in speed as far as how many people are getting infected. So that's going up faster, kind of like what we saw in China, right? It was just the kind of hockey stick type of rate. It just really ramped up fairly quickly. 17 recovered, so that's good news. So there's people recovering, so that's great to see. I want to see that number go up. And 19 in serious or critical condition, and that's bad, right? So that's a pretty high number. Serious or critical condition, that could lead to fatalities, right? So what we're talking about there is pneumonia, normally, serious pneumonia that's not getting better. They're probably put on a bunch of different serious medicines. There's 3 right now. One is an AIDS medicine that they used, and another one is a SARS vaccine, I think. I'm not sure. I don't actually remember. I know one of them was for AIDS treatment, but there's 2 other ones, and they're pretty serious medications. So when they say serious or critical condition, yeah, that's right. You don't want to be in that state. That would be bad news. You'd probably be making some really serious life choices at that point. So, but getting back to why this is important, because I trust these numbers. That's why it's important. These numbers, I would say, are real. Okay, so the numbers coming out of China, we know they're low. We know they're not exactly true, right? Soon we will probably get more transparency there. As it rolls into other countries, we should see how we can deal with this. But this cruise ship is almost like a little laboratory, right? A little bit of a test laboratory where the rest of the world can actually kind of see what's going on. So some of the things we're looking at there on this cruise ship is 135 people have been infected for over a week. So this is still pretty new, right? So we have a lot of people that are probably infected, but maybe not showing symptoms yet. And so that's really important. And let's see here. So that looks like about 14% of those infected with this virus are at risk of serious side effects then, right? So if we just do the math on that, of the 135. And this kind of match is what we see in China, right? So there's estimates in China that could be closer to 20% based on what we know so far. So on the cruise ship, we're looking at about 14%. In China, we're looking at about 20% that are showing serious, and they're in a serious condition or critical condition. So some of those may recover, but I think that you're at high risk if you're in that percentage, right? So we see here 15% are developing pneumonia. So pneumonia seems to be the ongoing risk there by far. And then 5% just requiring intensive care. So that's not clear what that means exactly. But what we do know is this is much more deadly than the flu. I think that all the people out there that used to say, well, this is just like the flu, it's less serious than the flu. I think that this would show that that is false. You know, I wish it wasn't. I wish that this was fine. But I think that we're seeing pretty clearly now that this is more serious than the flu by far, right? You know, if you have evidence that that shows that this is not, I would love to see that. Please link to it below. But you know, this is what I'm seeing so far. More stuff in the news, which makes this even more serious, right? As a traveler, this makes me take in, you know, these details and consider my travel plans. Is that Vietnam just recently quarantined 10,000 people in a small city. So that's bad, right? That's another sign that this is being taken very seriously in those parts of the world where they're more closely seeing the results of this infection, right? And they will quarantine those people for about 20 days. But as we're seeing, there's a lot of concern that people could be not showing symptoms even when they're in quarantine for 2 weeks. And so that could go on as long as it takes. Another cruise ship in the news, the Westerdam cruise ship. This is really scary. This to me is more scary than the plague ship, the Diamond Princess. The Westerdam cruise ship. Let's see here. Health officials found passengers infected for the coronavirus, aka the COVID-19 virus, or whatever they're going to change the name to tomorrow. For some reason, we want to change the name on this thing every week or two. It's kind of weird, right? I don't know what was wrong with the coronavirus, other than the Bud Light virus jokes. So this cruise ship, getting back to the Westerdam, sorry, it was turned away at 5 ports. So this is kind of like the visitor that comes to your door that nobody wants to allow in the house, right? It's like, no, go away. I'm busy. I'm busy. Nothing to see here. Keep going. We don't want you here. So they were shooed away from 5 countries. You know, I could understand that. Nobody wants that problem at the door. So they spent weeks at sea traveling around, and then they got to Cambodia. And Cambodia said, yeah, come on in. No problem. Now, I don't think that's the bad news there, right? I think Cambodia was great to allow them to dock at the port. And perhaps, I don't know what happened then, but I would hope that they provided them some support. The bad news, however, is that the people got off the boat and went home. And there was it looks like thousands of people on that boat that got off and went home. So that sounds bad to me, because if with the Diamond Princess, those people are rapidly getting infected, right? We see that rate going skyrocketing very quickly because of because it's on a boat, right? You're going to get sick. You're going to touch stuff. It's a very limited area that you can go. You're breathing the same air. So on this cruise ship, I would expect a lot of those people were sick. If they were at sea for weeks, that transmitted to a bunch of people. So we're going to see now more of a spread because of that. So that's interesting. One second, I got to get a drink of water. So that's interesting. News out of Macau. So they've reopened their casinos. That doesn't seem like a good idea to me, but I could see why they would want to do that. They would be losing a lot of money if they don't have those casinos open. So every day that they're closed, I got to guess that's millions and millions of dollars, right? So, and this is not just their problem. This is the same problem we're going to see everywhere, right? I mean, this is a huge global problem, economic problem, right? The longer places are closed, the bigger of a problem this is going to be. And I think that this is why governments and organizations like the WHO and things like that are just saying, hey, yeah, no problem. You just wash your hands. That's why we're seeing that, right? It's because the threat of the economic impact is so big that I guess to some people that's a bigger concern than the individual suffering. So there's some news out of China as well, that some factories that are building things for as suppliers for other companies in North America and other places like Europe. There's developing some backlogs there. Now, I don't have a wide spectrum of study here. I just have some rumors and some reports. So if you've heard otherwise, if you're ordering from China and you're a business and you're getting supplies very quickly, then please let me know, because what I'm hearing is now that there's starting to be delays. So that is due to a couple things. One is we see the factories are not fully operational yet. So they've opened and the government is saying, okay, everybody go back to work, but they're not totally populated to the levels they were before. And that could be due to people have died, are sick, are caring for their families, or just scared to go back to work. Probably not the latter, because I think they're ordered back to work, is my guess. Again, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure that's probably how it would work. So that we have some issues there for logistics. And so I've heard rumors that the U.S. orders are now backdated to June. That's quite a long time frame. And I'm not saying that that's critically important, right? So if we've heard a few rumors about that, not the end of the world. But what I would expect with that, this is going to get worse, and that this is kind of the first signs of this, right? And what we should be expecting to see if this continues to get worse. And China is such a big manufacturing industry that I would expect this to have some impact, right? And we should start to see that more and more. And of course, the longer that goes on, the worse it's going to be. So that's really interesting. And then there was a CNBC article that came out on February 17th, which I thought was fascinating as well. And it said the affected areas with 100% or more confirmed cases as of February 5th are home to more than 90% of all active businesses in China, right? So there's a huge area there that's, doing a lot of industry that are infected. That's going to have an impact, right? So how many things do you buy that are coming from China? Almost everything, right? It's just phenomenal, large amount. So according to the report, about 49,000 businesses in these regions are branches and subsidiaries of foreign companies. So, if you're making stuff, a lot of your components are probably coming from China, and that's going to slow down for a number of different reasons, right? Because of this. So if you own a business and you're dependent on that supply chain, that's going to be pretty interesting. So, as a traveler, what does that mean to us? I think for business, it's going to have some impact to you possibly as far as how your company performs over the next year. If it's dependent on those supplies, it's going to, as travelers, I think it's going to impact us in many different ways. It's hard to really gauge today all the different things it's going to do, but definitely going to change our world, right, over the next few months and probably years. So the last little bit that I want to leave you with, and this has just come out of China. I've just started to hear about this, and I think this is really, it's good news. So I just gave you a bunch of bad news. Well, kind of bad news, right? We'll see how it works out. But I think it's bad news. And I think this is good news, okay? So the latest clinical protocol out of China is really focused on the blood alcohol. I said alcohol because I was talking about these alcohol swabs, not because I'm drinking, although that's not a bad idea. So the latest clinical protocol out of China is really focused on blood oxygen levels. Okay, so you can buy these little adapters, and I'll put a link to one below if you want to get one. I have one; they're pretty cool to play with, especially if you go to altitude and you want to kind of see how that affects your blood alcohol levels. But what they're saying is they're looking at that for patients that are coming into the hospital. They're putting a little thing on their finger, and it beeps and it shows you what the percentage is. And normally, for a healthy person, it would be between, let's say, 100 and say 98, 97. It would bounce around there. High 90s are very normal, right? So what they're looking for is anything below 93% would be pretty surefire ways for them to say, yeah, we think you're infected. Come on in and let's do some more tests. But that's really what they're going for. As of today, this morning, that's when I first started to hear about this. And I think that that will probably trickle into other countries as a way to quickly diagnose people. So these things are like $5 or something. I've got one. I can't remember how much I bought mine for, maybe $10. But I think that if this was to get worse, if you're in a place that's you can't go to the doctor right away or something like that, and you're suspicious of your symptoms, you can just stick that on your finger and see what it reads, right? Very rare for you to be below 95%. So if you are, then either you're doing some deep meditation and some heavy duty breathing, where you're doing breath holds and stuff like that. Because I can lower mine to where the machine just malfunctions just by doing that. But so you're either doing that or you've got some infection of some sort. So, or maybe you're at altitude as well. So if you're like, a couple miles above sea level, yeah, that could also influence the machine. So that's the news. I think it's really interesting. It's a good step forward as far as diagnosing patients. And that's actually good news. So the two big things out of today is three things out of today. These things are ridiculously small. So if you can find bigger ones, that's what I'd recommend. The plague ship, that's what we want to watch as far as getting accurate numbers. Sorry, I call it the plague ship. If you're on the plague ship, my apologies. I'll try not to call it that. The Diamond Princess, okay? I don't think it's such a princess anymore, to be honest. But nevertheless, the Diamond Princess. And we want to watch that. We want to wish those people well. We want to make sure everybody recovers on there. I really, really hope they take them off that boat as soon as possible. But let's watch those numbers, see what happens there. I hope they get excellent treatment because they deserve it. And we'll see what happens there because that's what we want to watch. We want to watch to see how many people recover, how many people have serious issues there. That's going to be able to be our guide moving forward to say, okay, how serious is this, right? And that's what it's really going to be all about. And then, of course, the clinical protocol out of China. So watch your blood oxygen, not alcohol, your blood oxygen levels. Okay, that's it for me. Over and out. Safe travels, everybody. All right, I'll see you later. Thank you very much. Oh, if you like this video, if you have any comments, please let me know below. If you, if you want me to talk about anything else, investigate something else, product reviews, destinations, whatever you want, let me know and I'll get on that. I've just been so busy covering this COVID-19 stuff or coronavirus stuff that it's diverted me from that, but I'll get on that shortly. All right. See you later. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.